Sabah everybody and welcome back. Today we're finally able to talk about the brand new Motorola Edge Plus 2022. The model that I have is the UW Verizon model that supports ultra wideband, but there's going to be unlocked models that are available at the same time. One of the main benefits, the fact is, on top of the fact that this has fast connectivity speeds, is also going to be powered by a very fast processor, the Qualcomm Snapdragon 8 Gen 1. Some crazy specifications when it comes to cameras because technically the camera on the front is a higher megapixel camera sensor than the ones on the back. It's a 60 megapixel sensor on a Motorola on the front facing camera. This is TK. Let's go ahead and talk about my favorite 6 things about this device that's going to make you fall in love with it. Like and subscribe and make sure you hit that bell icon so that you're always notified to whenever we have new videos on the channel. So what we have in front of us is the package that Motorola sent me. Just for reference though, the wireless charger as well as the Qualcomm Snapdragon sound earbuds are not included in the package. So this is typically what you would receive if you're picking up the Edge Plus by yourself. But these additional accessories allows us to actually enjoy some of the main benefits here. One of which is the ability of having wireless charging, 15-watt wireless charging on this that will be able to be used to charge the device. So we have wireless charging, of course, but not only that, we also have 5-watt reverse wireless charging and of course 30-watt wireless wire charging that's included in the box. So that's something that will help us power that 4800 milliampere battery that's built into the Edge Plus 2022. Now at the beginning of the video I mentioned to you guys that the front facing camera that we have in here is a 60 megapixel camera sensor that's actually technically a higher megapixel sensor than the front facing camera. Although just for reference I will say that the megapixels that we have, or the cameras on the back, are definitely going to be able to give us better video since they're essentially intended for more to be your primary shooters. The front facing camera is amazing on this device, but again, the best cameras here, 4K 60, 8K is going to come up out of the main sensors on the back. We have a dual stack of camera sensors here, a 50 megapixel primary shooter with a wide lens, and a 50 megapixel ultra wide / macro. So it's a dual functioning lens that gives us the ability of having macro photography as well as ultra wide, which is actually pretty common when using the ultra wide sensor. Now the last one is a 2 megapixel depth sensor, so we do not have a telephoto lens on this device, and it's something to keep in mind. 4800 milliampere battery, wireless charging, reverse wireless charging, 15-watt on wireless charging, and of course 5-watt reverse, and then 30-watt charging with the included box that comes in here. The device, as you can see here, looks very nice, has that nice little shimmer in the light. We have the Motorola logo and of course the camera stack on the back. When we look on the front, we have a 6.7-inch POLED AMOLED display that gives us the ability of enjoying 1080p resolution at 144 Hertz. So definitely very nice and very high quality refresh rate. It is a flat display, so no curvature. So everybody that loves flat displays can definitely enjoy this device. But one thing to keep in mind as far as the processor, 8 Gen 1 for the processor. Now the RAM configuration and storage, we have LPDDR5 RAM, 8 and 12 gigabyte configuration, and UFS 3.1 storage configuration all the way from 128 to 512 gigs of storage. The model that I have here is a 12256, but again, it should be a good reference of essentially what you have in there. It is running Android 12 out of the box and of course running Motorola's UI. And one thing I will say, if you ran through it and you go through all of this stuff, this is one of the closest to stock Android as we see it on Pixel devices as we can get, and that's one of the main benefits of having a Motorola. On top of that, of course, we have stereo speakers, a fingerprint sensor that's present with the power button, the volume rocker that's right above it. Right above that, we have a microphone for the camera, one of the additional 3 microphones that we have. So we have 1, 2, and then of course nothing on the left side, all clean. On the bottom, we have a 3rd microphone, a bottom firing speaker, a single SIM supported device here. So this is going to give us the ability of enjoying ultra wideband connectivity and support for any carrier, but no dual SIM configuration and no expandable storage. So this is something to keep in mind when you're using this device. But otherwise, you're going to be enjoying, you notice right there, the always on display, fingerprint sensor, very fast, and of course, very responsive. And that's one of the main first things. So first thing we talked about is obviously the specifications, which again, top of the line, latest and greatest from Qualcomm, as well as from Motorola. And again, some people prefer flat displays over curved, so definitely this is going to answer the mail and give you everything that you've been looking for. Now, when we talk about the camera sensors on the back and on the front, again, as I mentioned to you guys, dual 50s with a depth sensor and a 60 megapixel sensor on the front. Jumping into the camera application, we're greeted directly with photo and with video. So those are the 2 primary modes that we see in there. We do have the Google Assistant search that's present here on the left. Swiping up from the bottom gives us access to the configuration to either be in photo mode, or if you jump into video, same thing, swipe up, you give access to the configuration for video. One thing to mention, if you click the sandwich button or the hamburger menu on the right, you get all the other options. For video options, we have slow motion, time lapse, spot color, and dual capture. Portrait for photography mode, cutout, spot color, night mode, cinematograph, panorama, of course, group selfies, ultra resolution, of course, to use the full potential of the 50 megapixels, live filters, and of course, dual capture, scan, and pro mode for video. As far as the resolution for video, we'll notice we have 8K at 30, 4K 60, 4K 30, full HD 30, full HD 60, and that's going to be the main benefit in 19 by 16, 9 by 16 resolution. You can turn on the light, you can also turn on the frame rate here, configure it, as well as turning on and turning off the mic if you want to take just video without audio. If we switch it over to the front-facing camera, pretty much the same experience, except we actually have 4K. So 4K 30, and then full HD at 30. We have obviously face beauty if you want to turn that on. 9 by 16 aspect ratio is still the option that we have in here, and we also have the ability of turning on illumination in case you're in a darker area. On and off for the microphone, again, all the customizations that we've seen before. It does have a little bit of a ring. You can see that right there at the top to make sure that we always look at where we're going. And because of Android 12, we have the indicator letting us know that the actual access to the cameras have actually been used. Let me show you guys real quick a quick sample of the front-facing camera and the back-facing cameras on the brand new Edge Plus 2022. We're going to start off with the front-facing sensor here. 4K 30 frames per second is going to be the best resolution we can shoot here. Now, if we flip it on the back sensors, we're able to go all the way up to 8K 30 frames per second. So definitely a very good experience, focused around 4K experience. 4K on the front, 4K on the back, although definitely the back sensor should be the best one. Switching it over to the back, we're shooting at 4K 60 frames per second, although we're able to go all the way up to 8K at 30 frames per second, which is also definitely nice here. The main sensor is only one going to be able to give us this resolution, but again, you have the flexibility of going up, and of course the front-facing camera also gives us 4K 30 frames per second. So 4K all around, which I feel like is a very good experience, especially since nowadays I think like 4K should be the new standard. 1080p is great, but shooting in 4K and then sharing from that will always give you the best resolution. Now, there's a little bit of noise in the distance a little bit. I'm not sure if you guys can hear that. For the most part, it should be able to focus on me pretty good. And as you saw there, the video looks really nice. And even though we did have some noise coming up in the background, it actually was able to focus on me really nicely with the 3 microphones that we have built in. Now, the next thing we're going to jump into is audio. Now, audio is a big factor here. We have Snapdragon sound, as I mentioned to you guys, and this is actually going to give you some of the best experiences when it comes down to audio representation on Android, specifically with the Edge Plus 2022. So basically what we're talking about here is 24-bit 96 kilohertz audio quality built in and supported, and of course CD quality lossless audio as far as 44 kilohertz to 16-bit. So some of the best experiences you can get. Now, you don't necessarily have to buy these exact pair of headphones, but these are essentially made, and we're partnered with Qualcomm last year. We saw that with the Snapdragon device that came out earlier last year. One thing to mention though, you do need to make sure that you're connected to the device and of course controlling them through the device. Now, for me, I've been using Amazon Music, using some of their high quality audio, and of course been enjoying content on this from all sorts of music. But for today, I'm actually going to share with you guys the quality and the speaker functionality that we have in here. We're going to open up, this is my favorite song, obviously, is Alex Crindo Jumbo by NCS Release. We're going to go to 100% and we're going to just play a quick sample for you guys.
Jack it up.
Now, as you can hear here, the audio is not only loud enough, but it also has some decent bass, and it does not distort even at 100%. So definitely really good audio. And as far as the actual experience here, it's been an absolute pleasure. Again, 24-bit 96 kilohertz is going to be the best quality you're able to get here, and it does support basically the best audio quality that we can get from a Snapdragon 8 Gen 1, again, with Snapdragon sound. So all around, the best experiences you can get here. Now, as far as entertainment, I do want to say that obviously that you're going to be able to enjoy all the content on this. A 6.7-inch display is actually quite, well, it's large enough that you're able to enjoy almost anything. The stereo speakers that we have in here are very nice. The camera placement is to the left, so essentially, for the most part, you're not going to have any problems. You are able to basically get around it, essentially, since it's not at the dead center of it. The 1080p 144 hertz means that we're able to actually enjoy content, not just for gaming, well, not just for enjoying video, since most of that runs at 60 frames per second, but also be able to enjoy it whenever we're scrolling or using different parts of the UI elements. But what we can do actually is turn on the refresh rate. By default, you have automatic mode, or you can have it fixed to 60 or 144. I've been leaving it at 144, and that gives me the ability of enjoying just super fast refresh rate, and you can definitely appreciate the difference in the refresh rate. And so let's go ahead and just turn it on. I'm going to go ahead and switch over to 60 frames per second just to kind of show you guys how that looks. And you can kind of see the effect. It's just not as sharp. 144 really works nicely, and of course that will be translated more when you're playing games, because that's going to be some of the main benefits there. Now, one of the things not a lot of people know about Motorola devices is that they have their own Android desktop experience that's built in. Now, this is running Android 12, so by definition, we are using Ready for on top of Android 12. So this is one of the new implementations that we have. Now, there is a shortcut button directly within the notification panel. If you click that, you can actually see the different modes. This is definitely much better implementation than what we've seen from DeX. I'm not trying to say that DeX isn't good. I'm just saying from the options that we have compared to what we have from DeX, Ready for has actually kind of surpassed some of those functionality. First and foremost, built into the system, we have functionality for desktop, so that's going to be the Ready for desktop experience. We have a webcam interface that enables us to use the phone as a webcam by using the Ready for software, so you can actually use the best cameras on your phone as your webcam when you're making phone calls. You can also do mobile data sharing with your PC. So let's say you're connected to your laptop, be it Windows or Mac. You can actually share your internet connection from your phone, so your ultra wideband connectivity directly with that. Last but not least is also the ability of using it over Wi-Fi with compatible displays. For me, it's a Samsung display, and I'm able to actually project this all these experiences onto the display. So what I'm going to share with you guys right now is a few clips from what I was doing here with my monitor or my TV in the office. It's a 40-inch 4K monitor directly from Samsung. Simply just pair it directly with the display and I'm able to broadcast. And you notice it gives us the ability of selecting one of the options in there. Do I want to use the desktop mode? Do I want to watch video? Do I want to use it as a basically to play games? Different things, different scenarios, and it's all controlled wirelessly as long as we're connected to the same Wi-Fi. Now, one thing I will say, although it does allow me to launch Call of Duty Mobile directly within the desktop experience, it does not allow me to control it. You do need a controller or some configuration in there, either a mouse and keyboard. My recommendation to do is what I'm doing now is switching over to mirroring display, which means it's just essentially showing what my display looks like. And now I'm able to actually enjoy the content wirelessly to my TV, and I'm also able to enjoy the content a lot bigger than what my phone can show. So really good for gaming, great for content consumption, and of course productivity, as you can definitely enjoy it as a laptop or just projecting a desktop experience. Now, the last thing I want to talk to you guys before we get into the gaming section, as you know, we have quite a few games installed, is the customizations and the things that we can do to customize our device. If I press and hold on the wallpaper here, I get the ability of customizing wallpaper, widget, and of course home settings. This pretty much takes us in. Let's go ahead and go back, and you can customize basically the app labels, the app size, normal home screen with, without drawer, notification drawer, everything like that can be customized. Swiping up from the bottom gives us access to automatic search, but opens up the keyboard, which I find very, very nice. Of course, you can see here the Ready for functionalities that we were talking about before. The Recents app, very much similar to stock Android. We've seen those before. But if we press and hold and go straight into customize or personalize, this gives me the ability of customizing it based on themes. So this is similar to what we saw with Material You, except it's not an automatic function. So under themes, you have the ability of customizing different options. There's the Motor one, Seaway, of course, Honey, and then Merlot. And I was able to customize one of my own, and that gives me the ability basically of clicking the plus sign and let's go ahead and cancel, changing the wallpaper, customizing the different options, changing the font, the color, the icon shape, the grid, of course, as well as the ringtone, all, and then make it into my own custom wallpaper or custom theme. So customizations is definitely very nice and very easy to set up in here, as well as the ability of basically going in there and changing your wallpaper, customizing it from different, directly from your photos, interactive wallpapers, stylized ones, which are definitely very nice. So you notice right now what we're using here. So I'm going to go ahead and jump in personalize. I'm going to go to stylize, and I'm going to pick one of my pictures. So here, this is the picture I was actually picking up from before. You're able to basically change the different aspects of that picture to give it a little bit more uniqueness to yourself. And then when you're ready, just set it, and of course say yes. I'm going to set it to both home and lock screen. And at this point now, we have a very nice, unique perspective image. Of course, this is just more Dragon Ball fan, as you can imagine. I'm a big fan always. Alex Crindo in there, lock screen, fingerprint sensor, absolutely fast. Now, the last thing we're going to talk about, obviously, is gaming, because I'm pretty sure you guys are wondering, what are the capabilities of this device? Now, first and foremost, I did install and I did try it out with Kishi. It works perfectly with Kishi. Just one thing to keep in mind, obviously, not every game is compatible with a controller. So for best experience, what I recommend you is obviously using it with the best options that you have available. I installed Call of Duty Mobile, of course. I installed PUBG Mobile, well, PUBG New State. We have Clash of Clans, we have Undead Horde, of course, the Revenge here, Ninja, and of course, Modern Combat Versus. And then once your game is loaded up, you're able to access the entire menu from here. You can open up and do different things. So we have call blocks, block notifications, notification, basically locked mode. Performance mode turns on the performance on the device to 100%, although personally I haven't had a reason to use it. So while I'm playing different games on this device, I haven't had really the reason to turn it on. Screenshot, screen recording, we have acoustic lights, or basically some ambient lights that can turn on around. Sharing, of course, Twitch stream, if you do have that installed, you can customize that. Last but not least, one thing I really liked enjoying here, if let's say you're in a game, let's say PUBG Mobile, and you're waiting for the game to start. One thing I will probably say that is the best thing to do is to be able to actually just enjoy something else. So I can actually go ahead and launch in a windowed mode. You'll notice right there, YouTube open it up in a Windows mode. I'm able to experience it, use it, and if I'm done, I can go ahead and close the window and then jump into the game. Very nice. You don't have to miss out your spot. You don't have to lose your spot. You can pretty much jump into the game. So let me go ahead and share with you guys a few samples of the game, again, running on the brand new Edge Plus 2022.
You shall serve me well. I improve.
Target's inside. Tango down. Need backup. Enemy contact.
Pick it up, team.
Enemy contact.
Recon standing by.
Target's
UAV
inside.
recon standing by.
Contact with enemy.
Launching killer drone on standby.
Yeah, sorry. So the reality of the fact is I'm actually quite surprised with what this device is able to do. The reason behind that is I haven't had a chance to check out Motorola before, and my entire experience with Motorola was always with their more budget-friendly devices, and that was about 5 or 6 years ago. So the most recent history, Motorola to me has been a brand that I haven't had a chance to be able to check out. So first I will say thank you to Motorola for allowing me to check it out, and of course allow me to check out the Edge Plus 2022 in a best configuration. First and foremost, I'll say this. This device is hitting way above its price point, flat out. What you're going to be paying for this device, regardless if it's the locked or the Verizon model, you're not going to be disappointed. It's definitely going to give you a better experience. The cameras on the back are definitely very good quality cameras, and the camera on the front, surprisingly, is utilized for its full potential. 60 megapixel, great sharp images from the front-facing camera as you're looking at it, of course. And of course, the ability of recording 4K 30 frames per second video on the front, which to me is a must. I think if there's ever a standard, 4K 30, and of course, to hit that sweet spot, the 4K 60 resolution on the back. Now, as far as the gaming and of course the entire experience around the phone, day-to-day activity, battery life is absolutely fantastic, even on Verizon and even on ultra-wideband. Now, unfortunately, in my area, I was only on basically sub-6 5G. I was never on ultra-wideband all the time, so that probably will affect how the battery life is. But ultra-wideband isn't really available everywhere, right? It's more specific to certain locales, like stadiums, and of course, certain areas where it's available. So what I'll probably say is this. Performance on day-to-day activity, everything works beautifully great. The fact that we get the ability of actually charging it fast with a 30-watt charger that's included in the box is a plus. Where I will say there are some challenges in here is that when we get into the camera system, although great pictures are provided to us here, we don't have a telephoto lens. So there is an ultra wide and a main sensor, which I feel like fits 90% of what I need from a camera. But when it does get to that point where I do need to get a little bit closer to the actual subject, I do have the ability of doing that by digital zoom, no optical. So there's always that little bit of a balance that we need to look at. The other thing though, I will have to say that my first impressions of Ready for is just like, wow, seriously. Motorola has flat out, well, for the lack of a better word, Motorola just outdid Samsung DeX. I think where Samsung's been basically sitting on DeX for the last few years and not giving us improvements, it's a great system. I'm not knocking it down. What I'm trying to say though is Motorola took it to the next level. Not only are we running this on Android 12, which is the same thing as DeX, we also have the ability of customizing the experience. If I want to play games, I want to use the desktop experience, I want to use the phone as a webcam, or I want to even just watch video. All of those are done. You can do it wirelessly, wired. You can even run it on your PC. So you can download the Ready For system there and run this as a fully windowed experience there. Everything that you want to do to utilize the full potential of this device is there. Where I will say my concern is, unfortunately, with the 8 Gen 1, it seems like the way we have it right now is that it definitely does get hot. In my gaming test, which was about an hour and a half to 2 hours, pretty much straightforward, but jumping in from one game to another. So there was about a few minutes cooldown between each. The device got about almost 120, under 120 Fahrenheit for me on the display as I'm showing you right now. Now, this is not going to be the same for everything, but the fact is the 8 Gen 1 is just a hot processor when it comes down to performance when you start putting it through its paces for an extended amount of time. The 888 last year was a very similar experience. Now, I will say though, my system or the phone never actually stuttered or started to lag with this experience. And I think that was the other reason why I mentioned during the setup or when we were getting into the gaming that I don't like to turn on performance mode. I don't really think it's needed. The 8 Gen 1 is way more powerful than what the system needs, and any of these games actually will require us to do. Undead Horde did definitely push the system, and that game is technically more utilizing the full potential of the 8 Gen 1. But for me, again, when I was playing it with PUBG, I was around the 115, so it wasn't really that far off. It's just that Undead Horde did actually push it all the way to 120. I'm imagining Genshin Impact will probably do the exact same thing. So at the end of the day, would I recommend this device for anybody considering to pick up a flagship in 2022? The reality is, yes. Motorola packed in everything and anything that they could think of to put into this device and give us the flexibility and the power that we would want to get out of a device. The cameras are surprisingly very nice, both the front-facing and the back-facing cameras, from video and also to the whole bunch of different modes that you get into the camera app. Now, the temperature concern that I'm mentioning to you guys, again, this is me pushing the system to its limit. Any game that I decided to play, and even with Undead Horde, I turned on all the settings to 100%. So some of you guys may not need it to be that high, and that's something to keep in mind. 144 Hertz on a 1080p panel I feel like is the right configuration, because that gives you the lower resolution on the display panel that gives you longer battery life whenever you have it in there. And for best battery experience, by the way, I will definitely leave it on auto. Let the system dictate when you need to jump into 144, and that will give you the ability of having a little bit better, longer battery. Great sound, great cameras, great display, a lot of great things to be said, and again, a great price to even match that when this actually becomes available for you guys to pick up. The last thing I will mention to you guys, if you did stick with me all the way to the end of this video, is that this device is going to have a special $100 off, available on both Amazon, Motor's site. I'll give you guys links in the description below, of course, to be able to pick it up, and it's going to be available at initial launch. So if you want to be able to save $100, fucking everything that I showed you today, with the exception of the earbuds as well as the wireless charger, those are not included, you're definitely not going to be disappointed. Like and subscribe as usual. Thank you very much for the support. I'll see you in the next one.